Alright, so we have already kind of looked over at these types of we've already looked over the first couple of parts of Summarizer, so I'm not going to go over what we've already gone through. What I am instead going to do is just move on. We've got big picture of chapter, 10 words or less. The big picture is kind of like what's the main idea of this chapter. Excuse me, my throat is terrible. So I'm taking the pen of color that I'm using to describe and to add instructions, and I am going to write, first of all, 10 words or less, and off here on this side, does not have to be sentence. Okay, it can be bullet points. And the big picture here, what I mean is theme, if that's another word that you recognize. Theme, or what is the main point of this chapter? Main point of chapter. So, for example, I'm going to go ahead and switch pens here, black, because I'm going to start to fill some things out here. The big picture of the first chapter, I would say one big picture is, I would say, the community different from ours. Another big picture of this chapter sounds like someone is controlling everything. Okay, you could do bullet points, one words here, but as you can see, I just did 2 bullet points. You could write a complete sentence, but you do not have to. Alright, so post-reading. So this is all of this, I'm switching pens here. All of this is done while reading. So you'll read, you'll kind of stop here. As you get used to doing this, you'll kind of know, oh my gosh, this chapter is describing blank. Oh my gosh, this chapter is explaining blank. And you'll be able to just really quickly jot some things down. Now this is post-reading, which I'm sure many of you know, post equals after. Alright, so jot points. Remember, each dot should be 8 words or less and explain the most important information from what you read. So this is just going to be what happened first in the chapter, what happened second in the chapter, what happened next in the chapter, and what happened finally in the chapter. We are, so this is sequential plot points. Sequential plot points. So we're switching into black because I'm going to add the first thing. So I'd say the first thing that happens in chapter 1 is that we meet first. Reader meets Jonas and learns of I can't remember what it's called right now, but learns of the ceremony. Okay, what happens next? I would say it has to deal with something that they're sharing of the feelings. What happens next, and what's the main point of how this chapter ends? I'm not going to go into any more than that. Now the post-reading, again, I'm switching here to my green to where I can highlight, or where I can, because I'm going to be writing instructions here. Post-reading, again, means after. So summarize in this step on these lines. You need to summarize everything you've written, but in paragraph form. So you're summarizing the chapter, but you're including the characters that we've learned about. You're going to be mentioning the setting. You're going to be also saying in chapter 1, for example, the verb, what does it describe? What are some of the big pictures? And then what are the plot points? So you have a lot to write about in this space. However, since you're summarizing, you don't want to write like a whole big giant page. That's why I only give you limited lines here. So I would say the first thing that you would start, I'm going to switch pens here. I would say the first thing we want to do is mention that it is in chapter 1. So I would say in chapter 1 we meet Jonas and the members of his family. Jonas is mentally preparing for the upcoming ceremony and is nervous about his placement. So that's, in fact, we could even just say first, because that is kind of, because this is the first thing that we happen. Reader meets Jonas and learns of the ceremony. So first, in chapter 1, we meet Jonas. So we've already talked about Jonas, we've kind of talked about the plot point, and we've described we've explained what chapter 1 explains, because it explains the upcoming ceremony and introduces the community. Alright, so then you would need to finish off including these points. You don't have to go into all of the specific details in here. It's just, we just need to very quickly write a quick little paragraph about all of this stuff. Alright, so I hope that quick little video has given you a little bit more of insight into how to do this. Thank you very much.